introduction of ourselves, just a bit of a roll call. So Simon Bond is my name. I have been helping the guys out at iRexchange for about 18 months now. I am a consultant at Cevo. Business analysis is my usual title, but that's usually a bit of product management, a bit of product ownership, a bit of project management, all that sort of stuff. And this is Nish Mahanty, who will just introduce himself.
So I'm head of development at iRexchange. I've been there just under 2 years, and prior to that I was head of development at the AFL, and before that consulting at RMIT and long stints at MYOB and SIG.
Greg Frye, CTO at iRexchange. I've been there 2.5 years. So we do have a joke that we move pretty fast, so it's sort of just like dog years. It's just sort of 7 for 1, so it's sort of like 15 years. If you get all the
Greg, to tell us a little bit about iRexchange and the market opportunity that you saw when you first sort of thought, I'm going to dive into this startup.
So just a bit of history about our business. So our business started a number of years ago. It started with before I started, some early founders looked at some problems that were in a particular industry sector. These guys came from the logistics sector, and they saw a number of businesses that you all probably interact with every day. Your local supermarket, whether it be your local newsagent, your local chemist, about how product gets in there. They saw a couple of things that we see now as being is actually a huge challenge. Is that if you're running an independent supermarket, an IGA or a Foodworks or a Foodland, the route for product getting to your customers is incredibly complex and quite expensive. And so we fundamentally came to the problem of how do I help small businesses access via technology some of the scale economies that bigger businesses have. When you go down, if you take that big behemoth like Coles and Woolies and go down to the independent stores, the people that service your local community, your local IGA, there's about 2,500 around the country, and they turn over about $20 billion amongst about a $100 billion sector. But for them, they have to go, they're busy running the store. How do they access product at a competitive price is a huge challenge, and the market's incredibly dysfunctional. So fundamentally, that was sort of our reason for being, is how do we help those independent businesses buy as if they're bigger, but have, and be able to access those products and ranges that means they can compete.
To actually disrupt this market.
So what we do, our model is very different. And I'll sort of contrast what way we are approaching that problem and what a traditional route to market for products in those stores. So typically, whether it be independent retailers or pharmacy or almost independent liquor stores, most of those sectors operate similarly. Manufacturers manufacture products, wholesalers buy it in huge volumes but fairly narrow range. They buy it at X and then they try and sell it for X plus to a retailer. The retailer buys it at X plus and then tries to go X plus what? There must be more to sell to the customer ends up buying it. That sort of wholesaling's been around since the first coin was invented. The problem with that model is that the end consumer and then the retailer has been challenged with, if you like, misaligned objectives. If you're a wholesaler, what do you want to do? You want to buy cheap and sell high, because that's your fundamental make your money. And you want to actually manage less rather than more. If you're a retailer, you want to buy cheap and have a broad range to meet your customers. So sort of fundamental models have been misaligned, but that's all there's been in the market traditionally. That's the way wholesaling works. We completely flipped that on its head. So rather than we're building a B2B marketplace. So rather than buying and then selling, we sell and buy. So we, in effect, act as a marketplace to accumulate demand from all the retailers. The retailers say, I want 50 products. I want 3 cartons of Coke, 2 cartons of this, 1 carton of tomatoes, blah, blah, blah. And we run through all our stores. And we aggregate all that demand, if you like, and then clear it in terms of placing an order back with suppliers. And so we don't hold any stock. We don't buy in advance and hold it and try and mark it up. We do the reverse. And then the supplier ships product into us. And then we do the reverse. We deaggregate all those supplier products and put it on it. We also make no money on the product. Zero. So we buy it for $1 and we sell it for $1. The supplier wants to sell it for $1.50. We sell it for $1.50. That's a key part of our model. And because we charge a separate service fee, it's quite transparent. So rather than it all being vague, I'm buying this carton of Coke from a supplier who bought it from someone else and I've no idea what it costs, is we're saying to suppliers, manufacturers of product, and the people who are going to buy it ultimately, being the stores in our case, you guys can sort of trade directly. We'll facilitate that trade and we'll charge a separate service fee for the privilege of doing that.
Nish, as head of development, how have you approached actually the challenge of building this platform?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So there's three bits to the platform. There is what is effectively a traditional e-commerce platform that connects in a traditional two-sided marketplace the retailers and the suppliers. It's got some things that are unique, and this aggregating orders and then generating purchase orders to suppliers is unique. Underlying that, we've got to couple it with the actual physical movement of the goods. So we need a second application or platform that accepts goods from suppliers, routes them through a delivery network into the rainbow pallets or the mixed pallets for the customers, and then deliver them to the customers. And underlying that, we need the analytics, we need the data and intelligence about every single transaction to what's happened, so that we can optimize both the logistics flow through, but so that the customers, retailers and suppliers can optimize their businesses based on the data that they can see. So when we started, we inherited some software that we thought would give us a good starting point to build these capabilities. And so the challenge when we started was, okay, we've got the software, what does it do? And does it match what we need? And to answer that, we actually had to think about what do we need. So we sat down and worked out what are the core capabilities that the retailers and suppliers want. They want to be able to order products, receive them, sell them, pay for them, and under that get some insights. And there were 14 core capabilities they needed to be able to do those 4 business processes. And what we did is we got the original software running, and by definition it was legacy software. There were no tests or anything like that. It was a giant monolith with a bunch of old school technologies.
Just
got it running.
Startup.
Got it running in AWS and went, okay, that's what it can do against those 14 capabilities. What do we now need to build? And our approach was really borrow, so open source or find something before buy, before build. So we sort of worked out which bits are our core IP that we need to develop ourselves, aggregation, everything else, producing invoices or something like that. If we could find an open source solution, or if the existing stuff worked for that, we would use that. And we just focused on building the core bits ourselves. There's probably a bit more to it than that, because traditional two-sided marketplace, retailers, suppliers, and then in the middle what we call network and operations, so our logistics. So we're thinking if these are the 3 pillars of this business, and let's structure our teams around these 3 things and see if we can leverage Conway's law for good by building stuff that is building it in a way that will be efficient delivery of features for those 3 groups. So we set up the 3 teams. We built stuff for the suppliers, stuff for the retailers, and stuff for the networks and operations.
You just mentioned Conway's law. Did you want to give us a bit of a...
You know, asked me for a definition and I may not remember. But the idea is that your architecture represents your business structure, right? And the problem with that is if your business structure is very convoluted, so is your architecture likely to be. And the problem with that is if you're trying to change functionality, deliver new features, it might be hard if the architecture makes it hard. We know we want to deliver stuff fast for our retailers and suppliers. Let's structure ourselves in a way that makes that, let's structure ourselves around them, and then hopefully our architecture will emerge to match. It worked really well. As we got more mature and we realized that what we were building was a set of microservices, that those boundaries between retailer, suppliers and network and operations went away, and what we have now is just a bunch of services that tie together to deliver capabilities. And we went from 3 teams to 1 team because that matched what we were actually delivering better than the 3-team model.
Tell us a bit about the tech stack. I think there's probably a few people interested in the platform.
So we inherited a monolith that was built on SQL Server, and all the logic was in stored procs, and Java and XJS for the front end. So all technologies that are well proven and tried and well understood, but put together in a way that is monolithic, no tests, very difficult to work. And in particular, it had been designed to be lightning fast. And the way they did that was put all the business logic into the stored procs. So it could do what it needed to do very quickly. It was really difficult to extend. So we started by going, okay, how do we run this? We put it into Docker. We ran Docker on ECS, on AWS. And once we had it running, we then went, okay, how do we carve bits out of this and carve them out into things where we can more easily change them? And we started basically leveraging almost the entire AWS suite of tools, because it represented what we needed, the ability to carve something out and spin it up and have it working quickly. So using all the AWS primitives, S3 and everything else that went with that. And then over the top of that, some of the newer stuff, API Gateway, which is no longer new, and Parameter Store, and some of the other things around coordinating that.
Back over to Greg for a bit now. What are some of the key challenges that you've faced, and how have you actually overcome them as a team?
Who of you worked on a startup?
There's a couple of startups
Yeah.
in the room.
It's my first experience, right? And it's been a wild ride. And I'll be honest, it's been a wild ride, but probably the most fun I've ever had in my career, right? And also pretty scary at times, right? So when we started there, and the microwave's going, you're going, I don't know how we're actually going to get to actually making money for a customer. But probably the biggest one was, we've been lucky that we've been well backed, but we're entering a business that's actually quite a big scale business. So even to start, you don't start with a tiny product and a few boxes. You've got to move things at volume, right? And so as a result, getting stuff to market with limited cash was probably our biggest challenge, right? And my grandmother used to say to me that you should build the same house 3 times. The first 2 times you get it wrong, the third time you get it right. I think it's the same thing to start, right? So if I could go back, there's things that you do differently. But probably the biggest single one was that that cash burn, tight deadlines, that sort of frantic desire just to get in the market and start generating some revenue was sort of the overwhelming one. I also we had actually overbaked our MVP to start with, and I can say that with hindsight. We planned for probably a harder, faster start, and therefore, we always try and get that MVP low so you can get to market. We still overbaked it, but really managing that dynamic of I need everything to get trading versus I got limited runway and money was probably our number one challenge.
What did you sacrifice for your MVP? What did you trade off? Anything?
Well, it's just performance and scale. We didn't need those early, and so it was probably not as performant at the start as it was performant enough, but it wasn't. It's got a lot bigger now. That was certainly one. We really optimized for speed to market. I think we wanted to get features out and then iterate on them rather than building a lot of stuff and having a very fully featured product. Where to start? The MVP one, it was really, we had a bunch of really smart, experienced people telling us what we needed to build. And the problem was out of 15 people, there were probably 30 different opinions as to what we should build.
Today.
And we built stuff and we didn't need it straight away. And I think the one thing that the biggest lesson would be to get in the market as early as possible and test and iterate rather than go, okay, I believe you, this is the right thing, let's do it. And that's probably my 1, 2, and 3 lesson is that, is this adding value? Do I need this? Do I need this to prove the core idea? And it's a hard one because before you've launched, I definitely need this and I need this. And it's hard to say no to those things. And if I was doing it all again, I would say no a lot more. And I would also ask for prove to me that, like, you know, what data do you need to show that this is the right thing? And I would then go, how do I get that data?
I think one thing too, so I think, you know, if I talk about our MVP, there's no doubt our business colleagues are driving that bigger, but part of our own internal view, I've got to make sure it's robust enough to get to market. And part of that was because we're all in the industry, you know, if you don't get it right, you'll never get the opportunity to fix it again. A big part of our approach was to give people the comfort and freedom that it's okay to get it wrong. It's okay to get it wrong. And as we've got more mature over the last year and got faster at, you know, diagnosing problems and fixing it, it actually means that the threshold could even be lower. It's okay to make a mistake, but the team's really good at diagnosing problems and getting them fixed. So, you know, the angst about, oh God, are we ready? Have we got sufficient test coverage? I'm actually winding that back, not winding it forward, because we are still very, when you disrupt the market, it's amazing how much you've got to be humble enough to learn from what the market's going to tell you. And a lot of things we thought were wrong, we just proved to be not wrong, but not quite right? And the only way we're going to get that learning is getting market. And so you just got to get everyone from your chairman, your CEO, your sales guys, and your and to be honest, our team who are building it and supporting it, the comfort that it's okay to get it wrong. You'll get it right quicker by getting it wrong. By getting in the market, you know, and adjusting, and it's been a journey for everyone to sort of, you know, to trust that that's going to happen. That, you know, yeah, okay, if I get it wrong, I'm not going to get nasty. But we have a culture of, you know, we build it, we break it, we fix it, right?
One of them is around culture. I think you need to, if you're in a startup, you sort of need to go, what sort of culture do I need for this organisation to succeed? Right? And actively think about it, and then intentfully build that culture. We needed everyone to be really bought in, to be willing to turn around to everything, to be able to negotiate and debate and discuss ideas without letting egos get in the way. We needed to be technically excellent, and we came up with a motto which was pragmatic excellence. We're very pragmatic about what we choose to do. We pressure test everything, go, is this valuable? Should we do it? Should we do it? Should we do it? The things we agree to do, we do really well. And, you know, when we started, we effectively rented a culture. We had Cevo and Dias and so on, and they made up most of our team. And we were relying on their culture and behaviours and everything to help us get started. But you can't buy your culture from someone else. You grow it over time by the shared experiences of all the things that go right and the things you do, and also all the things that go wrong and how you respond to mistakes and challenges and the rest of it. And what has been interesting is as the consultants have slowly moved out, we've managed to maintain a very similar culture. It's slightly different, but it's very similar to what we wanted and what we got and what we needed to start. The other thing I've learned, which you alluded to, is that you really need to understand what the customers want and what the problem is you're trying to solve. Okay, is what I'm doing adding value to that customer problem? And if you don't understand it, then you've got to go understand it with experiments or go observe them or whatever. Because I think came back to the other stuff, we built things we didn't need, so we didn't actually understand what the customer problem was. And once we're far more connected to them, we're far more insightful on what to build or what to do to solve their problems.
We have to know when to listen to our stakeholders and when to ignore them. Because, we're blunt, you know, people come from an industry, even if you've got this transformational mindset, it is easy to creep back in, oh, this is the industry norm. And sometimes those industry norms are real, and if you try and challenge it day one, you will go broke. And some of the ones you have to challenge, and that's the art of the business.
Greg, any suggestions for anyone in the audience who's about to embark on a similar sort of startup journey that you can sort of
It was interesting. I started, and so I was brought on as a consultant, you know, by the founders to come and look at this technology stuff. And so I said, I'm not going to touch technology for 3 months. And I'm glad I did. It's the best thing I ever did. I said, I'm not going to look at it for 3 months. I said, I want to understand, show me the money, show me the business model, let me understand how how things are going to flow through. So I did a lot of modelling and teasing apart, and we actually found a couple of, I won't call them fatal, but significant flaws in the original business model that I wouldn't have found if I just launched into building stuff. And luckily they were quite easily fixed, but would have been really hard to fix if we sort of got into build. I think though the lesson learned would be, and we already said it, is just cut your MVP in half and do it again and then do it again, right? And in particular, the thing I think we're getting better at, but it's still a challenge to be honest, we're still a challenge, is I like the idea of encouraging people to be humble, that it's okay to have an idea. In fact, I want you to have an idea that you're actually not necessarily confident in, because that means that we can learn by testing in market what it is. So I'd encourage, there's a lot of, our business is made of humans have got egos, and I know what's right. I really try and encourage them. I've got a great idea, but I'm actually not that, I've got a high degree of uncertainty that I could be wildly successful or wildly wrong. Great. How do we validate that? What's the smallest thing we can do? The experiment, the test. In some cases, what you need to test it actually isn't any technology build at all. It's go sit with a customer and mock it up on lo-fi on a bit of paper, or it might be some technology. I wish we'd done more of that earlier on some of the things, right? Because it does two things. One, it weeds out weeds the chaff, right? But it also means that you're actually speaking to the people who are really going to get value out of what you're building, the actual end customer.
What's next for iRexchange? What does the future hold?
So we're at an interesting stage of our evolution where we've got some organic growth. We've got these 400 stores and more growing every week, right? So we're sort of getting quite significant in terms of our organic growth business, and same on the supplier side. We're also working with a number of, big groups that are going to give us what we call inorganic, big step growth. So, and some of those relationships are just a bit more complex than we thought, and so we have to go, that wasn't quite the way our model worked, but we're going to have to twist it. So over the next year, we expect to see continued organic growth. We're operating, we've been selling product into a number of states, but mainly Victoria, ACT and Victoria, and New South Wales. By the end of the year, we plan to be in certainly Queensland and probably SA and WA, or at least one of them. So it's going to be a big geographic expansion. And a couple of these major deals that we're doing, which are bringing hundreds to thousands of stores to us that we expect to come off. So, it's a wild ride. We're a small business. We're a team of about 50 odd, 45 odd in total across the business. Our team's 15, 14 odd. Dealing with large, complex organisations. But yeah, that's the growth path we're under. I mean, our sort of vision is actually, 3 or 4 or 5 order of magnitude where we are now. So we have big ambitions, right? And the fundamental one is any market that's incredibly transparent inherently gives you trust and you want to trade through it. And that's sort of from the sort of economic model, if you like. And pretty simple is our job is to make sure every truck is full.